This is Brian 2 in Chiang Mai, Thailand, July the 11th, approximately 5:35 in the afternoon and the evening, 17:35 hours. I'm in my hotel room here in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I just want to talk about a couple of things that targeted individuals who are mind control victims, trauma-based mind control victims go through. And one of the things that all trauma-based seems to be a universal symptom for all trauma-based mind control victims, in addition to tinnitus or ringing in the ears and phosphenes, a flashing of streaks of light when you close your eyes caused by the optic nerves in the eyes being stimulated by the streams of electromagnetic energy waves. Another universal symptom appears to be that almost all trauma-based mind control victims have their hearts targeted, their cardiovascular system, blood vessels, lungs, targeted. This is done for the purpose of training, research, and development, slow kill assassination in ways that allows for greater degrees of indirection and plausible deniability. They learn how to silently assassinate people. And one of the weapon systems that they're using, disclosed by a neuroscientist who used to work for the CIA by the name of Dr. Robert Duncan, is SATAN. SATAN stands for silent assassination through amplified neurons. They target the cerebral cortex, they manipulate the central nervous system, etc., causing adrenaline damage, heart to begin racing constantly, and over a period of time the mind control victim's heart begins to wear down. And the cardiovascular system, blood vessels, heart, the chambers of the heart, the lungs, etc., the alveoli of the lungs, etc., it begins to wear down. And the point at which the mind control victim, the trauma-based mind control victim, suffers congestive heart failure, stroke, organ failure, ruptures of the blood vessels, etc. This is an important metric for their training and research and how to effectively silently kill people. Not just a person, but groups of people, in ways which allow for greater degrees of plausible deniability and indirection. All the targeted individuals that I've talked to are trauma-based mind control victims in the United States. All complain of having their hearts targeted. Now, this is done for various reasons. They learn how to entrain the heart with streams of electromagnetic energy. They use, obviously, trauma and pain for the purpose of disrupting the continuity of thought of the mind control victim, to erase short-term memory, to map out the sensory and neural pathways of the brain which control the heart and cardiovascular system, meaning the central nervous system, etc. But also for fear of death. I mean, it's not just about physical trauma. That's a big part of it, but an even bigger part is psychological trauma. They're using physical and psychological trauma to map out the sensory and neural pathways of the victim's brain and central nervous system. What is trauma-based mind control? CIA trauma-based mind control. CIA DIA trauma-based mind control is the weaponization of neuroscience. That's it. And what is neuroscience? Neuroscience is the study of the brain and central nervous system. And that's what they've done. They've turned neuroscience into a weapon. Neuroscience is no longer just a field of medicine. It has crossed the threshold of medical science and is now a chief weapons platform for the various intelligence agencies of the world, the major intelligence agencies like the CIA, the Department of Defense, in Europe, the British and the French, the Europeans, the Russians, the Chinese, the Australians, even the North Koreans are involved to some extent in this new weapons program. And that's what this is. Mind control technologies is about it's a weapon system. And that's what the CIA and Department of Defense, especially DoD, loves to name its weapon systems using religious and mythical metaphors, like harp or Michael or Gabriel, Christ. Those are all weapon systems, documented weapon systems. They're acronyms to name weapon systems of the Department of Defense. Well, another weapon system that they're using on us, on me, and other target individuals who are trauma-based mind control victims is SATAN, silent assassination through amplified neurons. They're targeting the cerebral cortex with streams of electromagnetic energy waves specifically tuned to the brainwave signature of the mind control victim, manipulating the cerebral cortex. And when I say cerebral cortex, I mean the motor cortex, the visual cortex, the audio cortex, the sensory cortex, etc. They're using trauma, physical and psychological trauma, to map out the sensor and neural pathways of the brain and central nervous system to build a cognitive model of the mind of the mind control victim for the purposes of training, research, and development. All this torture, all this assassination, all the pain, it's all by a group. All the information, the research goes back to DARPA. But these are contractors. These are Department of Defense, CIA contractors. These are, and when I say contractors, I mean I'm talking about people with some degree of expertise in the area of the mind, particularly as it relates to memory and thought process. So you're talking about psychiatrists, psychologists, neuroscientists, behavioral scientists, etc. Okay, that's what's happening. They're using me and other victims of this technology, torturing and murdering us, all for the purpose of their training and research. They're worse than the Nazis ever were. This is the greatest civil rights travesty in American history. There are not just a few people targeted. Most people that are trauma-based, they have an idea they're targeted. That's hundreds of thousands of people. But there are millions of people in America alone targeted by this technology, tens of millions over the last 4 decades. And that was leaked accidentally by Skinner, B.J. Skinner out of Harvard. He actually disclosed the location where they keep the personality database of people that they victims of their technology, whether it be trauma-based, mind control or state-of-the-art mind control, etc. There are hundreds of programs, and if there are hundreds of programs, then we can assume there are thousands of projects. And then, mind control victims as a group of people fall into the latter category. Which project are you in? Which program are you in? The trauma-based mind control victim is not allowed to walk away. He's killed. She's killed. Slow kill or quick kill, but they're killed. That's why the damage, they don't recover from the damage to their body, to their internal organs. It's deliberate. It's slow kill. It's meant to kill or incapacitate the victim, because they don't just allow the trauma-based mind control victim to walk away. They cannot allow the victim to walk away, because the victim, after so much psychological trauma, and physical trauma, could turn into a loose cannon, or could come back in the future to testify against it, etc. They do not take that chance. No trauma-based mind control victim walks away. You're either killed. If you're not killed, if killing the victim is not the preferable method, if killing the victim, is not necessary, then the preferable method is to set up and frame the victim and have them thrown into a mental institution or prison, or to mind hobble the victim. Those are the 4 choices. All trauma-based mind control victims are they're not choices. Those are the 4 areas, the end result of what the trauma-based mind control victims can expect to see. And it's not pleasant to talk about, but it does need to be discussed, because people are being murdered, people are being tortured, entire families, little children are principal targets of this technology between the ages of 3 and 6, because the core personality of a child fully develops around 6 or 7 years of age. Now it will modify and evolve up until the early 20s, but that core personality is pretty much set between 6 and 7 years of age. Well, they need to get to the child before that core personality sets. So they inflict severe trauma, psychological and physical trauma, on the child between 3 and 6 years of age in order to force the victim to disassociate from reality, in order to create artificially induced multiple personality disorder, etc. So this is what's happening to me and to hundreds of thousands of other trauma-based mind control victims, and millions that don't realize they're targeted. They're targeting my heart day and night, and it's choice reference patterns. If I told you they were targeting my hand, they'd target my hand. If I said they were targeting my feet, they'd target my feet. Whatever the choice reference pattern of the victim, that's what they base the next round of harassment and terrorization and violence upon. But when I say violence, I mean physically, tangibly, and electronically. It's streams of electromagnetic energy. A computer multiplexer routes the signal to a tower, satellite, or mobile platform, and the tower, satellite, or mobile platform relays the signal to the digital receiver, which is, and it's kind of similar to cell phone technology in that, it's based on timing and location. The digital receiver is tracked and pinpointed in real time, just like a cell phone. But again, it's all remote. But, with mind control technology, CIADI mind control technologies, the digital receiver is not a phone. It's a human brain. The brain of the mind control victim has been digitalized by the nanotechnology, etc., in his body and brain. The nanotech adhering to the neurotransmitters in the brain. The nanotechnology speaks to and decodes the neurotransmitters. That nanotechnology interfacing with the stream, the signal, the carrier frequency, the hidden carrier frequency within that stream of energy. And that's how they manipulate the brain. That's remote neural monitoring and remote neural manipulation. It takes time. They have to build a cognitive model of the victim's brain. It doesn't happen overnight. But that's what they're using trauma for, to build a model, a cognitive model of the victim's brain and central nervous system for the purpose of training, research, and development. Worse than the Nazis ever were. And only the mind control victim absorbs the energy or feels its effects, because only the mind control victim possesses that specific brainwave signature which the stream of energy is specifically tuned into. Others around the victim, you could be surrounded by 100 people, they would not absorb the energy or feel its effects because they don't possess that same unique brainwave signature that the victim does. So the energy just would pass through them and around them, and they would be unaware. But the victim would absorb the energy and feel the pain and the trauma. And this neuroprogramming every night, there's dream modulation, there's neurolinguistic programming, sleep hypnosis, etc. It's just brutal. And it's meant to be brutal. Precisely so no one will believe it is happening. If they have no choice but to discredit the mind control victim, to make him appear crazy. So no one will believe these atrocities are occurring. But they are. To me and hundreds of thousands of Americans who are trauma-based, and millions of Americans and many millions of people around the world. This is a global phenomenon. I'm in Asia right now. I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I'm being targeted with this technology because they don't just use towers. They use satellites and mobile platforms, so they can target me here. This is Brian, too, in Chiang Mai, Thailand, July 11, 2016, approximately 17:45 hours.